Hello everyone, it's Lennon. I thought today we would do something different. I want to go through my work in progress poetry book with you guys. All right. Now this book is tentatively to be released in February. Okay, as like a in bulk slash birthday uh, release date, and it's been coming along. Now what I guess like I'm just like reading over it in this. I took a few days off from writing the messages in poetry and I'm doing like a little perusal. It's kind of like this is how I like pre edit, right? And I just kind of like read through it and make sure that the format and all that is still good and I still like it. I'm still excited about it. And I mean, I started to realize that there were some there were some differences between this book and the Immaculate Immortality, which was much more my channeled poetry, right, for the dark feminine archetypes that I put in that book. And I realized that, like the punctuation and like the grammar of the poetry from Immaculate Immortality is way more free because they were channeled. I started to like get on to myself in this like slow. I was downing myself for this because at some point I felt this isn't punctuated right. This isn't this. This isn't, it doesn't look, it's not a poem. It's not poetry, but it is. It was just channeled, and some of them were taken right out of like a book of mirrors, and some of the devotional notebooks that I had for the goddess specifically, and this dark feminine presence that was here whenever they would channel, like I would be a conduit for them, they would come out in these very free verse, language isn't a thing kind of a way, in this very altered state way. And that's why the punctuation and the grammar might look wonky in that book, is because some of those poems, for lack of a better term, were channeled in a way that was free of all that. They were using another language. And so when you sit down and like you read with, and read that book, it can feel disjointed and somewhat fragmented. But that's because they came in through this, flashes of words and juxtapositions and things. But this book is some of my actual poetry that have more of a, I don't know, some of them are like actual rhythmic and stanziatic poems. Like I've got some villanelles and I've got some sonnets and I do have quite a bit of free verse just because that's what I love with poetry. But let's see, I think I've got roughly about, anyway, what I wanted to say was a lot of these are rhythmic and they include the punctuation and grammar needed for poetry, okay? In this very different way than the other poetry book that I have out. And I have I have 9 chapters in this book. It's 314 pages. Don't think I'll add any more pages to it. So it's going to be roughly, Immaculate, it's going to be about the same as Immaculate Immortality. So another thick one, another thick book. Because Immaculate is 320 and this one's 314. So they're going to be roughly the same size. Big poetry book. And I've got 9 chapters and they're all to do with my brand of magic. Okay. Now I've called this Carpe Magica. Seize the magic, baby. Okay? So many people say carpe diem, carpe noctem, okay? Seize the night and day. But I thought, I had so many titles for this. I thought, I want to call it Carpe Magica. I want to be able to seize the magic, So I named it that. And it's going to be called like I think I called it the subtitle, a magical anthology. I'll put the cover here. I'm really proud of the cover. I liked the cover. I used the Batwoman, the very iconic witchy Batwoman, and I put some clothes on her in a Photoshop, and I kind of like juxtaposed her on the cover. So I think I called it a magical anthology. Maybe it's a compilation. I can't remember now. So this one's also illustrated, just like Immaculate Immortality. Now with Immaculate, it's all my homemade art, right? And I might put some examples on the screen. But the Immaculate Immortality, they were all drawings for the Dark Feminine. So they all had this, they were all, feminine presenting figures. But they're much more freer. Like right off the rip for my poem Primordial Ink, I have like this water coming in, the drops of water flowing back out. I've drawn that. I've drawn, skeletons and houses, and I think I got one for a library in here that I drew. I've got some spin art because I love, those spiral things. You put a circle down and you make those little, like the inside of mandala looking things. It's called spin art. Anyway, I love spin art. So put some spin art here, especially I put the spin art in the Primordial Chaos chapter, which is the very first chapter, because that's actually the type of specific art that I use in my Chaos Witchcraft, or my Primordial Chaos Witchcraft. So anyway, like I've got Primordial Chaos, I've got Magic, has its own chapter, Shape-Shifting, Feral, Liminal, Time, Wisdom, Death, and Ascent and Descent. Now, I don't like to end with death because I feel like it pushes the narrative of the finality and the tabooness of death being the end of things. So I like to put this kind of like rebirth at the end so that it feels very wheel-like. Like death's not the end, and it doesn't have to be. So I put Ascent and Descent as like this rebirth chapter at the very end of the book. So yeah, thought I would read you some of these, like work in progress, because I kind of feel like I put a book out, I'm kind of blasting you with them, like I'll say, hey, I got a book out, and then maybe I'll do one video for that, and it'll be alive at that, and I'll go through some of it and not really tell you the ins and outs of how it's going in terms of a work in progress way. And then I kind of feel like the day of it launching, I'm like, it's out, hope you like it, bye. And I don't really explain. So I'm going to get better about explaining my future books to you guys. And I really wanted to talk about this before it comes out, because it feels so special right now in the pre-stage. I'm still really in love with it. I'm not, self-flagellating myself yet about it. Once it comes out, I'll wait until that comes out to like really just, because you're human and you make mistakes and stuff, and I'll wait until the book comes out and it's available for the masses to beat myself up about this, that, and the other, like you do. But I also did some word, what do you say? I think it's called word art, where you do this, like you make the words form a picture. And I'll give you an example. Like for this one, I put Seize the Magic. That's my Seize the Magic, and it's like just Carpe Magica in this very spiral way. How we're going to seize it is very spiral-esque in nature. So anyway, I've done some cool things with words, making pictures out of the words. Then, of course, my drawings. But some of the poems are really, really special. It feels like, because this doesn't have... The theme, of course, is magic, right? Seize the magic. But it could be for anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be like for practitioners. This could be for anyone that's wanting to immerse themselves in the wonder, really. That's what it is. And let's see, I'll read the very first poem of this entire book. It's like I start with the Primordial Chaos chapter, and this is my sonnet to the darkness. And I've called this Yawning Darkness. The darkness below is yawning, waiting for me to come. Fit on the edge of longing, I stand by and cannot run. It whispers a strange babble, beckoning me to drown. Jump quick, it rambles, by the drain spinning round. The darkness below is patient, widening envelopes of time, repelling tentatively blatant sessions in downward climbs. You'll forever find my carcass in this ambient, yawning darkness. It's my ode to the darkness. My ode to the void. My sonnet. I like it. It feels good in the mouth. You know how like when you... I love being able to say the poem. Some of these poems don't sound very well in the mouth, like inside the mouth. And then once you speak them out loud, they stand there. I've talked about this before, but they kind of stand there and they look at you like in this like puppy dog way. And you have to figure out if you have to tweak it or not. Or if you want it to stand firm as something that just lives in the way words live in the brain instead of externally. And that's, you know, it's inspiring to me to figure out what kind of poem it is. Worldwide worthwhile. French kiss a supernova. I like that one. Let me read that one. Crying in the rain, looking up to the twilight, waiting on the stars to appear. Happy in the water, trickle down in the night, fighting on the front of space. Howl in the flights, transform the full winds crackling in the pavement. Rust in the galaxies, cleanse the harsh patina, kissing in the supernova. Then we have magic chapter. So a lot of stuff about like magic, you know, incantations and candles and stuff like this. Like I have a poem called Secret Incantation. Magical minutiae, like ephemera. Wanton sortilege. Now, wanton sortilege is much less a poem than a conversation, a disembodied conversation, because I've put it like someone is having a conversation with something else, and it's about stuff being foretold and how fate and destiny and how that works. And I basically made up a conversation to put. So some of these are very message-like. They're playful, and it's about the wonder and about the sparkle. You know, sometimes I wish I could like glitter my covers of my books sometimes. So like when I get my copy from some, you know, whoever, if I get an author copy or if I get a Lulu print-on-demand proof copy, I might just glitter the hell out of this because I feel like I want the glitter to make it feel a little bit more magical. Reclaim the Tainted Temple. I wrote that one actually a long time ago. And then Shapeshift is about morphology, twisting organs, skin ripping, the pain, the transfiguration of it. Snakes and labyrinths and mazes and beasts. Like I have one called Claw, Talon, Tooth. That's here in the Shapeshift. Birth at the Altar. Oh, I got into, I had bought some parchment paper because I was out and I use that all the time in my baking, right? Like I bake a lot. And I had pulled off too much for like my cookie sheet once, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? It's like too big to kind of throw away. It'd be a waste. So I had gotten the idea that I would do my own Rorschach tests, like ink blots, and it was super fun. Like I just squirted some acrylic black paint and then squeezed it, and then kind of did this kind of touch drawing where I was like, I think I like this, with it like, you know, this, and then you just kind of draw on it, and then you peel it open, and then I took some copy paper and put the copy paper on top of it and peeled it off, and bam, there was an image of an ink blot, you know. And I loved them so much that I actually put one of them in this to coincide with the poem Formless Glamour. That worked out really good because the Rorschach looks formless in a way, but it does have a form. But it's like this in this glamour way that whomever would look at it, it would look to like something different to every person. So I really liked that. Finally, I did manage to get done with the Feral chapter. The Feral chapter, of course, being like one of my favorites. Okay. I've got stuff about honeysuckle perfume, the turbulent storms, innocence, right? This unhinged, swirling circles, just really feral stuff, you know, mystification and reverent, ravenous energy, I guess. I do have a villanelle here. Now, villanelles, if you're familiar with villanelles, they're like 19 lines long, and they have this weird rhyming pattern. A very famous one is "Don't Go Gently" by Dylan Thomas, and then my favorite is "Mad Girl's Love Song" by Sylvia Plath. That's my favorite. And then Auden, W.H. Auden, has one I think it's called "I'll Let You Know." Oh my God, that's sad. That one's a sad one. And they read well. They read well, but I made one up for this, and it was pretty exciting. I don't know if it's one of my best, but you know, some people think that when you put out a compilation or an anthology of your poetry that it should be all your best poems. But who am I to say what my best is? You know, I'm not in a class. I don't have a poetry professor to give this to. So, and even then they would just tell me whether the grammar was okay, you know, and the syntax. But I don't have someone like that to like basically tell me whether it's good or bad. But then even if it's bad, I don't necessarily think that it makes it unworthy. So it's partly the reason why I'm self-publishing most of my books, is because I don't think that even my worst work, I still find it worthy in some weird human way. So let me read you this villanelle, okay? It's called "Island All One's Own." One day you'll find a home, dressed with palm trees and a shore. Ah, to have an island all one's own. Map this place of its unknowns. Take the time to find and explore. One day you'll find a home. Walk the coast all alone, sweet solitude, stillness, and more. Ah, to have an island all one's own. Remember how the stars shone. Form a bed on sandy floors. One day you'll find a home. Go the way the wind blows. Yell all you want, roar. All to have an island all one's own. Wear the crown on your throne. Make up your own lore. One day you'll find a home. All to have an island all one's own. I'm proud of it, but again, I don't necessarily think it's like, you know, revolutionary. I do like it, and I illustrated it. I drew a little island all one's own for that, like for the page parallel to it. The adjacent, not parallel, the adjacent page. Words, Lennon, words. Solitude's flagellation. I like that one. All hail howl is an ode to the wolves in my life. Okay. And then I've got this one called Feral Intervention that I worked on kind of with my husband, actually, that I came up, okay, I made this poem, and then I told my husband, I was like, look, it feels a little bit wonky in the head, so can I say it? I need to say it out loud, right? And he was sitting in the living room here with me, and he was like, okay, shoot. And he's not necessarily a poet, but he's a musician, right? Like, he could play any instrument, sheet music, and every time I've gotten his help on my poetry, he turns it into this rhythmic, musical, you know, endeavor to him. Like, the way he would hear it is as if it were music. So I wrote it, and then me and him and he was like, okay, I want you to take the words, and I want you to act like you're at some kind of beatniky coffee house. And I want somebody that doesn't know what you're about to say to be kind of strumming, kind of picking a guitar or a banjo or a something fiddly, okay? And he really put this in my head, and he said, I want you to see how it would sound if you were to go up there to the mic, okay? And you beat it out. Like a heartbeat, okay? Someone's strumming, right? And then when you start talking, they'll start matching your tone and your syntax. And again, being the musician, the beautiful musician that he is, really inspired me to change up some of the words so that it would form a song. And then when I like kind of said it to him, sung song, when I sang it in this kind of speech way, in kind of this scat way, he was actually really excited about it. And he said, that sounds like one of those 70s, poetic ballads or whatever that they used to do, where it would be like someone talking, but then someone would have a beat on top of it. Very Nick Cave, very Patti Smith, two of the ones I love anyway, so no wonder this would sound like them, inspired by that. But I want to read it to you, okay? It's called Feral Intervention. I've come for you in the back of a hawk's eye. So terrified you were to see me emerge from the darkness, totaling my net upon your back. Hark and listen. Maligned as a culture cry, tangled be for angels to come, to spread their fear and wanting dread. I but followed your tracks. Transform and be broken, here in this hollow sky. Blast be the old selves, perform for the red birth of the dawn, to the sound of a lightning crack. Hark and listen, maligned as a culture cry, snared be for demons to watch, perform for the blood moon at the birth of dawn. I will follow your tracks. Really, just goosebumps. I just love it. I love the way it is punchy, right? And when I was working on this in the musical capacity, it makes it feel even more alive. Like it really is a feral intervention. Now, the purpose of this is that I've come for someone. Like I'm trying to awaken let's say I'm trying to awaken the wild self from someone, and they're just really closed up, and I have to intervene in this kind of, spectral way, right? And so I came at it with that in mind, right? Like I want this to feel like an intervention, scary and punchy and then relieving, right? And then so when I was doing this kind of like scat thing with my husband, I was like, I've come for you in the back of a hawk eye. So terrified you were to see me emerge from the darkness. Right? And then you can even change the words. Like I can change the words if I were to turn this into a song. You can change the words to fit the rhythm, right? Like whatever. Like, maligned as culture cry, tangled be for angels to come, to spread their fear and wanting dread. You can hear the guitar, like, bum bum ba da dum, da 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 da, whatever it would do out there. And then you can end, and it's like this a cappella moment in the middle of the song where it's like, I but followed your tracks. And then there'd be like no music there, like end abruptly, right? And like I can so hear this in like this beatniky way. Like it really got me excited to like keep doing it this way. Transform and be broken here in this hollow sky. Slow it down, make it, moody, broody, and sad. Or you can, that's another thing about sentences. They can be fast, or they can be slow down. Blast be the old selves, and it's like the beat's, bigger, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just messing around with you guys, but it really did feel so good to transform a poem and think about it in a new light, literally. And it being in the feral section, it was so good because it was like I was intervening myself by transforming what was the poem into this like scatty poetry reading, into this like more sensational. Get closer to you guys. This chair drives me nuts. And then I've got one called, I was watching The Power of Myth, okay, with Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell, like one does, okay? Because I watch that all the time. Like, I'll have it playing when I'm doing housework. I just love Joseph Campbell's voice. Okay. And there's like 6 episodes on YouTube. Like, the whole thing's on YouTube in a playlist. And I have it in my, like, watch later. And I was listening to it, and he said that inside the cathedral, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Chartres Cathedral, that there's a plaque on the ground that says Canto Hic. Now, I looked it up, and it's really Cantar Hic, which means sing here. I love that. Every time I listen to him talk about it, I think, I want to go there. That will be my pilgrimage. It's to go to this cathedral, to stand on that plaque, and then, and then I thought, what would I sing? I could sing Feral Intervention, right? Like, if I were to ever transform it to a real song. Or I could sing, like what are those ones that have the good acoustics? Like, Dixie Dominus, Domino Meo. One of those that with the acoustics would, right? Sede adestris mei. I can't sing, okay? I can't sing very well. But, like this. Rex admira bilis et triumphatur nobilis. It's like, like Handel. But this very Latin, Gregorian chant, if you will. That would be good to sing there. But anyway, I said all that and sung all that to say that I wrote a poem called Cantar Hic about the plaque and sing here and about the acoustics of the world and of spirituality and of magic, that it has an acoustic to it. So I really liked that one. Coincidentally, the very next poem, like the next page over, is a poem called Thunderings. So it's like this weird juxtaposition between sing here, you've got great acoustics, and then over here is thunderings, and the storm is coming. So like you're singing like in this reading cover to cover way, you kind of think, okay, I'm singing, right? And then all of a sudden I go, hallelujah, and then a big crack of lightning, thunder crashes. I love it. I've still got some work to do in the liminal section. I did write a poem called The Pirate of the Fisher, The Priestess of the Threshold, and The Cello's Desolation. Because in the liminal, I'm battling the unknowable, all right? I have a foot in 2 places. I'm straddling the line. I'm riding that beast. Now, I do have a poem here that's very special, touches many places on me, that's called The Almost Spoken Word. And it's this very, I'm just going to say this because it's my feelings, but it's a very woman poem, okay, about the essence, quite literally, about the essence of staying quiet. And how the almost spoken word lives right there, literally on the tip of your tongue, and you don't say it. And it's the reason why you don't say it. What is that reason that it stays there and locked in the mouth? The almost spoken word, and it's very sad, very sad. Oh, I've got my drawing here of the white noise weaver, because he's weaving the white noise. I'm doing this a lot. I'm talking about senses a lot. This is what poetry does to me. I drew him, and he looks like he's fishing in a waterfall, pulling the white noise of the waterfall up. And I like that. I need to work on this, I believe. The obscure thief of the boundary. Now, sometimes, okay, like say all my text in this thing is black, right? When I need to work on a poem, I change the font color to red. And that tells me, like, when I'm scrolling through the document, that, oh, I need to go back and revisit this. It's not done. Like, I've put some kind of, like, maybe I've put one stanza, or I need to go in and change the grammar or something. I have to change it red. Otherwise, I'll never, like, I won't think to revisit it. So I need to do this one. This one's called The Obscure Thief of the Boundary. Let me read this. I don't know why I need to revisit this. Maybe because I wanted to lengthen it. Freely taken wafts from the boundary gateway, juggling exposed waters from lightning strikes, rapidly skirting beyond the tail ends of space. Thief, thief, hiding blatant sweeps in glorious obscurity. I mean, I like that. It ends punchy enough, you know, like the ends of my poems I like to feel like an ending, you know, like whether they have a beginning, middle, and end, I still like the end of a poem to feel kind of punchy in a way. Like, this is the end, you know? And if I let the poem, especially if it's a narrative poem, I let it slide instead of being that punchy, I'll let it slide, and that acts as its happily ever after. Like I said, I usually only do that with narrative poems, the ones that have like a story. So now I'm into the time chapter. Like, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. I'm in the time chapter, the thrill of collapsing growth, gratification, scream backwards in time, tour the cosmic bridges. Oh, I did write a poem called Once Upon a Blank. Like, about, and that's why we say once upon a time. Not necessarily who starts the story with once upon a place, once upon a space, once upon a couple, once upon a love. You know, it's like we can use other words there. We can fill in that blank. So, because I would love to read a story that said once upon a space. And that could be out in the ether. It's not locked into this earth. I love this earth, okay? But it's still not, you know, it doesn't, it's so limiting to feel like, you know, time here moves different in any other place. You know, once upon a place, once upon a place. That actually comes out better to me. The Temporal Godmother is a really good poem. Paint with Wisdom's Tempora. Oh, I've circled into the Wisdom chapter now. Now, I Was Born in the River is a poem, pretty long. It's the longest one here. And it's probably the only one that's not necessarily stanziatic for this long verse poem. But I wrote it on a very bad day. And I was meditating because I needed to. And I kept getting visions of this river, okay? And I kept telling myself, why am I envisioning this river? But I was becoming the river, but then I would slide with the water, and then I would become a creek, right? Like, I would become a creek, and then it broke. And then I would seep into the ground and become groundwater, only to be evaporated when the sun comes up. And I would come back and rush back and be the flowing river again, only to flow in the other direction and become the ocean. And it was this vision where I was literally going and being fresh and salt water, mixing and being so free but limited by the banks of the water. And it started to dawn on me that I was born in a river, and I know that I wasn't in this life, but maybe a past life. A mother of my past life was inside of a river giving birth to me. And there was something about the blood of my afterbirth is in that river and becomes that groundwater and becomes part of the sea. And I was born there. And so therefore, because it happened in a past life, it's this time has no say, that I'll always be born in the river, in a sense. And it could be also that I am a cusp baby, like I'm the day before Pisces. So If 6 hours later, I would have, 6 hours later, I would have been a Pisces instead of an Aquarius. So could be something to do with that. I need to be one with the fishes sometimes. Now we're in death. Got my little skeleton baby. What Death Taught Me. That was a really good poem. Because it acts as an equation. Death was teaching me in this kind of math way. In this kind of death being an equation. The death of things. Some of these feel so special. Necromancer's Mistress. Nectar of the Wastelands. The Python's Sepulchre. I have a thing about sepulchres. Words that mean like sarcophagus. Tombs. Catacombs. Words that are like the altars of the dead. I have such a love for those words. Now we're in the ascent and descent. I love this poem. It's called Quest for Mantle's Convalescence. And it's about going into the center, the core of the earth to find the heat and the iron and the silicon. Go down to the depths. Dungeon Chains. That one's cool too. That was directly linked to a vision I had that I'm pretty sure was a vision I had of Hades. And, well, the devil. The devil figure. And he kept rattling his chains, right? And in this weird vision that I had 3 times on different days, I was going down into this like straw-covered dungeon room, and he was chained to the wall, right? And he was beautiful. He was such a beautiful creature, right? And I mean like piercingly beautiful, like almost handsome. And in this kind of, I want to be near you way. But he would rattle and call my name in the outer world, only for me to dive into this inner world and him not talk to me. He wouldn't talk to me when I would get like face to face with him. He wouldn't even look at me. His head was bowed, and he would be like chained to the wall. He was incredibly strong, like, the rock, like huge. And I mean, his demeanor was so beautiful though, and so poetically hopeless. And he was chained to the wall. But then I would be like, where are the keys? How do I unlock? I was like talking, but I was like talking to nothing. I was talking to nothing because he was not talking to me. It was like I wasn't even there. And so to this day, I don't really understand why I had those visions. But I wrote the Dungeon Chains as an ode to him. Maybe by using my words, I've somehow unlocked him. Who knows? So yeah. So just under 200 poems and probably about 60 illustrations. This will be another one of those ones that I'm really, really proud of. So anyway, I hope that, that's really all I had to say. So I hope that this was fun. I hope that you enjoyed coming along and kind of talking this poetry book out with me in this very loose way, where you kind of get to know it a little bit before it's available to buy. So I hope everyone's having a blessed day. Much love.